Greetings! Tentis Dracovin, your Lord Emperor, here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome one and all to all of you out there. I hope you're having a wonderful day and you're ready to dive into some more tabletop-related lore and diving back into the Pathfinder world of Golarion. That's what we're doing today. We've got a couple more topics we're going to cover, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about the Ghorans. Interesting species you can play. So remember, if you're joining me live on Twitch, hey, you can be over there. Just keep it into the topic today. And of course, if you're joining me live or later on YouTube, remember to like, ring the bell, subscribe, all that kind of great stuff. Question is, have any of you played a Ghoran or encountered one in any of your adventures? That's my question for either you to discuss over here or in the comments on YouTube. Alright, why don't we dive into the Ghoran, because, I mean, that's usually the best place to start off with, and talk about some books that you can do for further research and also the mechanics of playing Ghoran, because I'm talking lore, and yes, there's a little bit levels of all the lore, but also, like, mechanics are not something I'm going to be diving into. The Inner Sea Bestiary is a great place to start first edition, but the Inner Sea Races will also give you some additional information, and if you want to look to second edition, the Ultimate Wilderness is where you have to look to. These three books will give you the mechanics of playing Ghoran and a little bit more details that I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go over most of it, but usually there's a little bit of details here and there that I leave out to keep things, well, not delayed, not talking your ear for like a couple hours. You know, I summarize as best I can. So who are the Ghoran? They resemble your average humanoids, but they are plant. They came from a biological experiment that was done by a renegade druid known as Ghoran, hence why their name's Ghorans, who was being employed by the Archmage Nex. So, we have to turn back in time to the war between Geb and Nex, two major nations. Geb basically blighted the fertile soil of central Nex, and doing so with their powerful magic during the course of this war, it led to the possibility of famine in Nex. So Nex, being desperate, turned to Ghoran. Ghoran basically wanted to create a hardy plant that was mobile and could thrive in the cursed ground. He then decided, you know what, let's grab a level of intelligence so they could seek out the most fertile soil and adapt to the environment. And then he named what he created the Ghorans after himself, because of course, when you create a intelligent, mobile plant creature, you do that. The war eventually ended, and Nexian farmers resumed planting normal crops, and still, nonetheless, the demand for Ghoran flesh continued. The Ghorans, they were intelligent, but that intelligence developed more and more. Basically, they learned to evade capture, and Nexian elites started hunting them for sport, reserving hunting grounds for themselves. The Ghorans continued to evolve and eventually gained speech. They gained actual level of sentience that could compare them. And the Nexians started to either deny the idea that the Ghorans were intelligent and could be considered close to any other humanoid, and also they didn't question the morality of eating things that were intelligent. After some ambushes were very cleverly made and destroyed several hunting parties, basically, the nation recognized Ghorans and they became citizens of Nex. Effectively, they, over time and exposure to what was going on in Nex, evolved from just a rudimentary intelligence to actual sentient intelligence, and something akin to any other humanoid or intelligent species on Golarion. If you were to look at a Ghoran, as they're shown in the image that I'm displaying here, they quickly look plant. The original ones were just shambling plants. But their evolution that they were given by Ghoran allowed them to adapt their shape, allowed them to move faster, manipulate the environment better, and it turned out, for the situation that they were in, the humanoid form was best. Their body, except for their face, stomach, and joints, is protected by a hard green rind. So those are the three places that the rind, their tough skin, is least. Layered petals make up their face with gaps in the shape of facial features, They have concerted control and can shape their bodies within the confines of a humanoid silhouette. So they can kind of adapt how their body looks, but it will still be humanoid. Each carries a fist-sized Gorus seed within their belly. Gorons were created as delicacies by Gorus, who ensures that every part of the Ghoran, except for the seed, was delicious and nourishing. So, yeah. Turns out they do taste really good and they're highly nutritious. It's not a great thing for a species to be said, you're delicious and nutritious. So a Ghoran body, an individual one, lasts about 2 decades. But Gorons can replace these bodies by planting seed. After a few weeks, the seed sprouts, growing into a mature Gorus in several more weeks. At which point the Gorus' conscience is transferred to a new body, leaving its old body a mindless corpse. So basically, like, they can take their seed out, plant it in something, grow themselves a new body, and their old one just kind of goes, and their new consciousness knows where their new body is. They take it over. So if the new body builds its own unique mental connections when growing, a Gorus transferred to a new body might find its skills and abilities changed. So basically, it's a reincarnation. You can almost think of it. If the body cannot mature, the seed is reclaimed by the Ghoran. When Gorus died, he took the secret of creation of their seeds to the grave, basically ensuring that no more Gorons could appear. Because of this, despite biological immortality, each one that dies for good is permanently irreplaceable. Because of this, they are very protective of seeds and consider the intentional destruction of one the ultimate crime to their people. So, they are plants still. That's something you have to keep in mind. And so, emotions like a humanoid and most intelligent creatures have are alien to them. They have adapted themselves to mimic human emotions, empathy, and facial expressions. And also because they can't reproduce, they don't have a concept of gender. And usually only adopt one if they frequently interact with humanoids. So if you're around humanoids a lot, you'll tend to choose a gender just to fit in that case. They might form bonds amongst each other to the point of sharing empathic link and suffering when others are hurt. These groups might form for any reason, and could last from days to decades. But they don't usually persist when a Ghoran grows a new body, even if the memories remain. Again, you reincarnate, you have kind of your memories from past life, but some of the skills or abilities might not work in your new body, so you have to kind of grow new ones in that one. Kind of replace your abilities with new ones. You might still have some abilities from your old body, and yes, when you're in a new body, hey, we're not the same anymore, quite the same. Our connection is... They have a decentralized, basically, idea of culture. They have no central species-wide authority. Like, the idea of a cultural build within them doesn't really have a lot. There are some that sense that they are a whole species, especially when it comes to threats, and have created fledgling oral traditions because of this. They kind of like, most of them are like, I'm just me, I have to reincarnate, go do stuff with my seed, new body, it's been a couple of decades, okay, but there are some that are like, well, we are a species, we're a people, we have to kind of build things, and yeah, unfortunately, oral tradition is the big way they do this right now. Now, they are Nexian citizens. This is an important thing. So, harvesting Gorons is banned. The consumption of their flesh is still legal, but only when the flesh comes from a corpse that the Ghoran has left behind when growing a new body. So there are some times that you'll get a desperate Ghoran that will voluntarily grow a new body to sell their husks, get some quick cash. So, due to the demand for Ghoran flesh, there are poachers that hunt them, sell their flesh, and burn their seeds so their identity could not be compromised. Most Gorons still do live in Next, as they tend to be healthier there, and it's one of the few nations that do recognize them as a sentient people. There's a small population that can be found on Golarion, stranded there during a shipwreck and protected by the local monks. They are also friendly to other intelligent plants, good fae, elves and gnomes. They do distrust warlike, environment-destroying races like Kolo, goblins. They're very wary towards herbivores, including humans, whom they admire and are grateful for their creation, but also don't want to be eaten. It's like, I really am happy to humanity that you've created us. Please stop trying to eat us. I know we're delicious. Because they do have personality changes that accompany a body switch, they do have trouble with longer-lasting relationships. I mean, they reincarnate, get a new body, and they're sort of the same being, but again, when you form connections with your spirit, your mind, into the new body, it just doesn't quite work the same. All Gorans name themselves. Sometimes they pick names they liked in other lives, or name themselves after people or places they once knew, while others keep the same name over multiple body transfers. So some will be, this is my name, I'm keeping it over and over again. Others will, a new body, new me. It depends on the Ghoran in that case. Now, if some get religious, they follow the green faith most of the time, and the eldest is also there. Rarely, some do end up in the service of humanoid beings, but that is on the rarer side. But, yeah. That's the Ghoran. Very interesting species. Being one that was created through magic, originally, it means that they are technically artificial to Golarion. But in a place like Nex, where there's a lot of magical damage in that region there, it made sense that they were able to give them that option to grow up. And certainly, yeah, they grew up. Their ability to adapt and evolve drove them to a certain point in time. Now, whether that evolution will continue after this point in time to the Gorans is kind of in question. They do have this kind of... well, they're kind of stuck in a way. And that's an important part about it when you think about them. Yes, originally, they were just shrubs that were given intelligence and the ability to move. But they evolved, they changed, they transformed, they adapted into such a way to become the humanoid-shaped beings they are now. And yes, they are functionally immortal, but that's the problem at this point in time. We don't get new Gorans. The secret of them is lost for now. Whether that could be rediscovered ever, that's a hard one. Honestly speaking, I'm unsure whether in Starfinder, which they are also at, they have done that or not. That could be true. I have to remember when I talked about the Starfinder videos. Shout out to them! But certainly speaking, with more modern technology, I think they have become more of a species that can spread. They can do more stuff. But that required time and technology, and still now, when we look at the Gorans of Golarion in the Pathfinder time frame, yeah, they're a species that is threatened by extinction constantly. You can't get any new individuals. Each individual is tied to a unique city. Yes, biologically you're immortal, but as I said, it's reincarnation. You might have your memories of that past life, but it's a past life. You have slightly new personality, you have slightly new abilities, it's something a little different. Maybe you like having the same name, maybe you like having a different name. It's each unique individual, and being like plants, no emotions, no gender, there's a lot of things that are very different. And just taking that step back, that, yes, people, I'm not looking at Starfinder. I mentioned it because it is important that they are different by the time we get to Starfinder, to a degree. But they're from this basic point in time here. And I think looking at it through Starfinder's lens, we can see that they have potential. And that's the thing we have to remember about the Gorans. Though slightly stagnant, stuck in these reincarnation cycles, threatened by extinction, inability to gain more of them, they have this potential to grow and become something big, new, different that we might see. Honestly, we have to see coming into the future. And of course, with time, we see it. Takes time, but they do. I think that's probably a great place to leave it there. Because, yeah, we kind of hit up a lot of the major points in time for that. So, I hope you enjoyed today. Remember, always check out all my other tabletop stuff. All of it is usually live on Twitch. It goes up on YouTube afterwards. So if you're joining me live, hey, Twitch again. Joining me on YouTube, hey, YouTube. Keep in mind that if you want to check me out live, it's Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. Saturday's a backup day if I miss any of those. Usually in the afternoons on Twitch. Goes up on YouTube 1 or 2 days later, normally. Sometimes, depending on schedule, a little later. Crimson Queen. I live play Pathfinder 1st Edition. You can check that out on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. or later up on YouTube. It's fun. It's great. We're doing a adapted version of The Curse of the Crimson Throne, and it's been really fun. And then also Discussing Tabletop on Saturdays. Make sure to check out Discussing Tabletop. We talk about all the news of the week in the tabletop world and some deeper discussion topics that, honestly speaking, go beyond just the news. You can skip ahead past that in deeper discussion topics if you really just don't. You know, we've gone back a couple of weeks or months and news isn't as important anymore. The deeper discussion topics are always relevant and always dive deep into really interesting topics related to the tabletop world and especially TTRPGs. But just in general, you know, you playing in this world and you maybe have some questions about some things, you got it. I have social media, Discord, Twitter.com, link below, and yeah. Alright everybody, I'm going to get running. I thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Ghorans. And until the next time we talk about tabletop topic, more Pathfinder, more Golarion, I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell.